Here we are. Peace and life, family. I hope that y'all are well and happy and whole and all that good stuff. Okay, y'all, today, let me tell y'all something. We got a little surprise treat. I didn't even tell, there we go. I didn't even tell the wellness community that this was coming because I wanted it to be a bit of a surprise for y'all. Now, I'm not going to tease her too much, okay? I just want y'all to experience the experience, okay? Experience the experience. Open up your ears and get ready because today I am having a conversation with my sister Queen. This my friend in real life. They're my friend in real life. Okay. My sister Queen, an alum of the illustrious Savannah State University, the University by the Sea. You can get anywhere from there. And many, many years later, we are both in New York City. Okay. Friends, sisters, tribe members, okay, and beyond just being my friend, beyond just being my sister Queen, she is a griot. She is a powerful queen dame goddess woman herself, okay, root worker, griot, storyteller, all those things. I ain't gonna tell you everything she do because I want her to tell y'all what she do because we're gonna talk about all of that. Without further ado, I want y'all to meet my sister Queen, the griot herself, Sugar Bones. Hey, sister Queen.
Hey!
How you doing, girl?
I am good. You did not have to build me up like that. Oh
Girl,
my God. My head
girl.
is just getting heavier and heavier. Like,
I could have
You
said more.
just-
Look, Dakota said, "Go, Shug. Come on, Shug. Sugar, you've been
Hey.
on my mind." Oh. Yes, girl. So let me tell y'all. This sister Queen here, Weathers Community, I done told y'all about her before. Okay, and y'all gonna realize when she tells her story, you're gonna be like, oh, this the sister this the sister I was talking about. I said I can't tell y'all the whole story because I want y'all to hear from her mouth. And y'all will hear from her mouth. Okay, but this the sister I was talking about. However, before we get into all of that, our intention. Y'all know I always like to set my intention. Our intention today is to discuss root work and words, the power of oral tradition, hoodoo, root work, whatever you want to call it, and keeping our stories and our legacy going. Our sister Queen, Shugabones Sharve, is a very well-known griot. Okay, go follow her on the TikToks and things like that. All you got to type in is Sugar Bones and she gonna pop up. You know what I'm saying? She blew up on TikTok as a griot. She's super dope, super amazing. Sis, Shug, first off, how are you?
I am very well, Queen Po. Thank you for having me. I feel so honored to
You know,
actually
go ahead.
not even just catch a live, but to be featured in the live. It's a
You know I'm
tremendous
excited to
honor.
have you. Girl, y'all don't know. I've been asking Shug. I told her because she got a story. I said, Sister Queen, I said, when you ready to tell your story, because when our sisters have powerful stories, especially stories that are centered in root work and things like that, we don't ever want to rush their process of processing their process, right? And all of their experiences and everything that happened. So I told her, I said, sis, when you feel ready, just let me know because this story is powerful. You are a powerful sister, and she is a true example of what it means to be a conjure woman, what it means to be a root worker, what it means to be a griot, what it means to be a keeper of secrets and tales and stories and all of that good stuff. She also studies and practices cartomancy. We talked about that before with the community, the power of reading playing cards and practicing divination through cards and all of that. So we're going to get into all of those things today. So, Sister Queen, let's just go ahead and get started and jump right into it.
Okay.
Now, one of my favorite things about you is the fact that you are a griot. The fact that you use that beautiful voice that you have to tell stories and to share wisdom on social media in person all the time, always. But as of right now, it has blown up on social media. Can we get into that a little bit? Why do you think oral tradition is so valuable and so powerful in African spirituality as well as African traditional religion?
Well, oral tradition is so, as you mentioned, I graduated from Savannah State, the illustrious college university by the sea, and I was a theater major. And storytelling, of course, is the original form of theater. It is the original form of spiritual, what we would say layman's terms, church services. It is the original form of passing down knowledge, right? Oral tradition gives us, in a historical context, it gives us a sense of how people thought when they were telling these stories, what they wanted the next generation coming up to know.
Right.
Um, I think oral tradition is just everything to me. Like even when I was little, like my favorite time was always story time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I fortunately was blessed with teachers that were very active with their storytelling,
Mm.
and I don't know, like I don't want to spend all like I can say a lot about oral tradition, like for real, when I think about it,
And see,
because
go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, I think about that scene from that movie Lackawanna Blues.
Yeah, girl. Girl. Like literally as you're talking about it, Lackawanna Blues is playing in my head. Many other films with stories in it, but they're just rolling through my head. But yes, the scene from Lackawanna Blues, expound, please.
So there is a scene, I think it's a little bit towards the end, where he's a grown man, but he's
Mm-hmm.
talking about how these people in his life had like just varied backgrounds and they didn't have much, but what they passed down were their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, those stories gave us Lackawanna Blues. Those stories gave us John Henry. Those stories gave us
Anansi.
Anansi, Brother Rabbit. Like, Heslov, I saw a post on Facebook, and yeah, I still use Facebook, y'all. But Heslov made an excellent point that Brother Rabbit teaches us how to be the bunny that always has the gun.
Mm.
And you'll look through a lot of African Americans folktales specifically, a lot of them are trickster based. Like you have Brother Rabbit, but you also have Brother Fox, Brother Bear, Brother Turtle.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody had to be a little slick in how they moved in their day to day, just
Yes.
like the people who were telling the stories.
Absolutely. And see, the thing is, that
Sorry.
that no, that was a
Oh.
little gem that you just sprinkled right there, because you said they in the stories they had to be a little slick, just like the people who were telling the stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a couple things, when it comes to oral tradition, oftentimes we hid our wisdom and our lessons and our practices in these stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we utilized oral tradition as a means to be able to pass down these lessons and these wisdoms, as well as our own personal experiences. However, oftentimes we had to hide these folk tales, hide our stories and these lessons in folk
Mm-hmm.
tales and like imaginary, stories or whatever, in
Right.
order to kind of just like, put the medicine in the candy. So
Mm-hmm.
it reminds me of like, people always say, oh, African proverb says this or African proverb says that. And it's those are usually like little riddle forms or poetic forms of deep
Mm-hmm.
lessons and all of that. But the thing that you do on social media as a griot is you tell a lot of folk tales. What really pushed you into the folk tale arena, and what made you bring that to social media?
What pushed me to folktales is I really grew up with a family that was big on, maintaining things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, I was an adult before I realized, like, okay, everybody didn't grow up in an Afrocentric house. Everybody didn't grow up on Afro bits. Everybody didn't grow up on what was that show? Happily Ever After,
And Gullah Gullah Island and
Gullah
all of
Gullah
that.
Island, and like things like that, right?
Right.
So I really just wanted to share them. And of course, the performer in me thought I could have fun. So I like things like I try to incorporate a little bit of ASL, American Sign
Mm-hmm.
Language.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm not fluent, but I try to incorporate that because movement is very important in storytelling.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not a singer, but singing is important in
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, dancing, and like these grand gestures because you want to maintain everybody's attention.
Right.
But another thing that pushes me towards it is just wanting to maintain it. Like I like to write on the side as
Mm-hmm.
well. And when I think about all these folk tales, and I got books and books of just folk tales. Some are the same, some are different. Um, uh, my thing about maintaining folk tales is that African Americans, we are still here,
Mm.
so we still need to pass these on. We
Yeah.
still need to share these amongst
Yeah.
ourselves and amongst everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to keep the tradition going.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the thing about it is if we don't pass down these stories and share these tales,
Right.
the lessons and the wisdom that comes with them can get
Exactly.
lost, and we don't want that.
Right.
We don't want to do that. And the new way to do that, to reach the young people and be able to share these folk tales and share this wisdom, is through social media, right?
Yep.
Because that's where they are.
That's
That's where the youth are. The
right.
youth are on social media. And I know traditionally, like back in the day, and we've talked about this in the tribe before, back in the day, it was like, don't talk about this. You can't say this. You can't do that. And to a lot of elders, us being on social media, even being on YouTube and talking about things like African spirituality and ATRs, to them, it's like, oh my God, why would you do that? You're breaking code. But, what I always say is if Zora Neale Hurston was alive today, she would be a YouTuber. She
She would.
documented our tradition, she documented our stories and put them in books because that was the way to get them heard and to get them out there and to keep them going during that time. Now we have social media. So the only thing to do is to bring it to social media, right? Like
Right.
we are the Zora Neale Hurstons and the Langston Hugheses and all of that of this time period. Some folks, yes, put it in a book and publish a book. But ideally, if we're adapting to 2023 in this current time, we're gonna have it. We're gonna have a YouTube channel. We're gonna have a
Right.
TikTok. We're gonna have an Instagram. We might even be on the Facebook. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that's what we gonna do. But for you, what have been some pros and cons as a griot on TikTok? Because I know one thing you be doing, honey, you clapping back. Okay, you be clapping back. So what are some pros and cons of being a griot on TikTok?
So I'm going to start with the pros. My favorite thing when I share these stories is seeing people across all cultures, of course, but especially across the Black diaspora say like, wait, we have a story like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we have a story like that in Uganda. Oh, we have something like that in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
I love that. I just love that so much, because that's another thing about folk tales. It's like you see a lot of similarities. Like
Mm-hmm.
rabbits and foxes are tricksters pretty much everywhere.
Mm.
So that has been one of my favorite thing. Another thing is it has brought some voice work. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about that, to share that in the future. Let's see.
But hold on, because I don't want to just skim over that because see, this is a powerful testimony, right? Where you followed your passion and you got up and you did the work and you became a well-known griot on TikTok, but then that turned into other opportunities to do voice work, right?
right.
And see, a lot of folks, if we really want to talk about the power of manifestation, a lot of folks have a dream, you have a vision for what you want to do. But this is what I mean when I talk about, you have to practice the law of detachment, meaning you detach from the how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. You don't know what is going to lead you to manifesting that dream and that vision that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Sugabones, when we was in college, she was a theater major, right? She always had a vision and always was into the arts, and she did her thing and was known for doing her thing on the stage, right? Now she follows this passion to, okay, I'm a griot, I'm passionate about this, I love folk tales, I love telling stories, I love doing this. Let me bring this over to TikTok. And her bringing that over to TikTok has now led to yet another step in her vision. When you started, did you have any inkling that, this is going to turn into me actually doing voice work and being a voice work actress?
No, I didn't. I mean, voice actors wasn't even high on my performance list, but I've always been interested. I just didn't know where to start. But no, I did not.
And
I
who would
also
have thought it was
didn't.
started on TikTok?
Right, on TikTok of all places, an app that used to be a minute long. So I would have to look for like a minute long story, or like when we got 3 minutes, a 3 minute long story. Finally, they gave me the 10-minute long option. So I'm really excited for that. But no, I was not expecting it. I am very grateful and very blessed for it.
Yeah.
Also, I wasn't expecting so many people to, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like to react like children, like they're excited about this. Like it's like that inner child, like, what? My grandma told me this story.
Yes.
I
Because
thought
that's
she was
how it
just
feels.
talking
It feels like
wild.
you sitting at Big Mama feet. That's what it feels
Right.
like. Even though y'all Shugabones ain't no bigger than a minute. Okay, when you see her in person, she ain't no bigger than a minute. I just want y'all to know I'm 5'8". I'm a healthy girl. Okay, I'm trying to prop up so y'all can see me. Shugabones is about when she stand next to me, she about right here. Okay, she about right here. Okay, she's a tiny little thing, but when she's telling these stories, you really feel like you're sitting at Big Mama's feet and you're waiting for the next piece, the next crumb. And the voice also adds something to it. What's the introduction, sis, when you do Shugabones? Is it with the voluptuous voice? What is it?
Oh, I like that.
Voluptuous
I am Shugabones Sharve, Griot with the sumptuous voice. And today's story
with the sumptuous voice. Can you speak a little bit? And this wasn't in the questions, but I really want to understand the power of the voice, right? Because a key thing with oral tradition and with storytelling and really being a griot is the power of the vibration of voice. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like this sumptuous voice that you have and how you use it and play with it and shape it and shift it to really get the point of the story across and like you said, really acting it out with that sumptuous voice.
So I've always been told that I had a nice speaking voice, even though I can generally be very quiet and shy. So, and it was a long time before I knew how I actually sounded. Like my voice might sound a little bit deeper to y'all, but like it's really deep in my head.
Yeah.
So, when the phone started changing and updating, I would play with my voice on like the phone recorder. I would, like, of course, in theater training, they train you to talk from your diaphragm, not like up in here, like down here.
Yeah.
Like speak from that gut.
Yeah.
So I try to maintain certain vocal exercises, tongue twisters, things like that. And I guess voice health. Try to avoid smoky areas as much as possible. As far as utilizing the vibration of the voice, I was, of course, raised in the church, Southern church, and I was raised heavy, heavy, heavy in my family that there is power in the tongue.
Come on now.
Like heavy.
Yes. Like
to the point, I guess you'd call this superstitious, but like we don't even joke. We don't even sing or rap to certain lyrics. Like bob our head to the beat, but I'm not even going to say it out loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not gonna. My gas tank might be on E, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we ain't gonna say the gas tank on E, but all the drinks. So I'll say the drinks is on me part.
There you go.
Tank on E, we ain't gonna claim that energy.
Right. It's a suggestion. Right. It ain't on E. It's a suggestion.
Right.
But just being raised heavy in that, I'm very cognizant of things that I speak, even when I joke around. Like if I say something that's a little, I guess, something I don't want to manifest, like mentally, like I have to immediately take it back.
Yeah.
Especially like I'll take it back in my head, like, or if I'm giving advice, I'm like, well, that's just me. This is what I would do. But I am even during consultations and readings, I am very cognizant of how I communicate because I don't want to speak that over anybody. Girl, but I just want them to, I just want them to be aware.
Yeah. And see, this is the thing, right? You rolled us right into it. Okay, you rolled us into it. I love you too, Toya. I love you too. But you brought us right into it, right? Because speaking of consultations and readings, something that we talk about is what some call cardology, some call cartomancy, but really overall it's using cards, whether it's playing cards or some folks use tarot cards, different types of oracle cards and all of that to be able to divine and to be able to, kind of read people, read energy and all that stuff. I know that cartomancy is something that you are passionate about. It's something that you practice, and you do readings, and you do consultations. And it's centered a lot in cartomancy. Can you speak a bit about cartomancy and the power of playing cards? Because that is really an ancestral practice. It's
Right.
specifically the playing cards. You know, like a
Mhm.
lot of folks don't know this, but our ancestors weren't necessarily reading tarot cards, and there's nothing wrong with tarot cards or oracle cards. But our ancestors, you know, back in the day had some playing cards, and those playing cards meant something. And they had pennies and coins and things like that that they would use divination with. So can you talk a little bit about cartomancy specifically? And if you want to touch on anything dealing in divination as a whole, feel free to do that.
Okay. Well, as you said, cartomancy is divination by use of playing cards, like what you saw the uncle's spade table. Playing cards, like playing cards.
Yeah.
It is one of the original African American systems of divination, along with throwing bones, along with
Aww. Come on now.
thank you, thought
Hey,
of the
let me know.
crossroads. Thank you.
You know.
Y'all can't make me blush while I'm talking.
Let me close in on her so y'all can see the blush. She blushing, okay?
But it is one of the original, you know, hoodoo forms of divination, along with like pendulum bottles, what I say, throwing bones,
Yes.
throwing pennies, coins, all of that.
Yes.
Cartomancy is, for me, because, you know, when I started my spiritual journey, like a lot of people, I was like putting my finger everywhere. For me, playing cards are much more direct than taromancy to me. So everybody knows, for me, playing cards were much easier, much more direct, excuse me. Sorry, what was the other part of the question?
No, I was just saying if you could speak on cartomancy and divination as a whole, because I know, you know, the playing cards are something that you are passionate about.
Right.
And some Smiling Happy said, I'm learning something new. And a lot of people aren't even aware that, you know, our ancestors used the playing cards to be able to read.
Right.
A lot of folks don't even know how to start. So if you could talk about that a little bit when it comes to using playing cards to divine, what is the process?
When I divine with playing cards, let's see. I'm trying to think of what I do. I make sure to smoke cleanse them in between different, you know, consultations. I knock on them 7 times. That's just a thing that I do, you know, wake them up, get them settled for the next energy coming in. And what I would recommend for somebody starting is, you know, I would recommend, you know, smoke cleaning them. If they're waterproof, I would wash them. And I would ask 3 questions. Now, I will say, before I go further into that, I want to say that there are, of course, multiple ways to read the playing cards. There is a way, well, some people will read them with yes/no questions.
Okay.
You know, you shuffle, and if you get 2 reds and a black or blue, that's a soft yes. Or all red is yes, all black is no. Or 2 blacks and 1 red is soft no, and so on. So some people prefer to read playing cards that way. I don't do that. I do, I guess, the full system. But I would ask 3 questions, and I would pull 3 cards per question. And this is in regards for people getting started. I would sit with, what does every card look like to you? Like what is spirit telling you that this card is saying? Like, I'm trying to see. Oh, actually, okay. So I have a deck right here.
Okay.
Let's say,
are we about to get a little demonstration?
A minor demonstration.
Okay. Okay. Look at Monty in the chat. Look at Monty in the chat. This is our other sister girl.
Hey, honey.
They know Imani Latifah. Y'all know Imani. This is her. Hey, sis.
So And I think what makes me hesitate to say directly what each card means is because I believe everybody reads the cards differently according to their lineages, according to if they were even allowed to be around playing cards. Because I did, I grew up around adults playing cards around me, but I grew up around kids who were not allowed to use playing cards or Uno or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or none of that because, you know, the old folks were telling them those are portals
Right.
for
Right.
spirit.
And I mean, technically they are, right?
Right,
They
you're not
are.
wrong.
That's why, like, the thing is, a lot of, you know, and this is for the folks who grew up super duper deep churchy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Some of the things that they were saying were right. It's just that they associated fear with it. So them saying, like, you
Right.
know, the cards are a portal, yeah, they are, but there
Right.
shouldn't be fear associated with it, especially when you're
Exactly.
doing your protection work and you know that you are doing things with wellness centered intentions, you know. But a lot of folks, like you said, they grew up not even being able to touch the playing cards or be around playing cards. So some folks have to still unpack that fear that they have with dealing with things that they were told were evil, you know,
Right,
before they get
right,
into it. But once
right.
they get into it, what you're doing now is you're shuffling the cards. Is there any specific way that you recommend that people shuffle, or do you think that folks should just kind of find what works for them?
I think you should find what works for them because I was not a great shuffler for a while.
Okay.
I am not a competitive person, so I wasn't big on playing card games outside of Uno, and even then, you know, black folks treat Uno like it's spades.
You
Like, it
know,
gets heated. It gets heated, and it's
very
50 million rules
very heated.
that don't come with the cards. So,
Right. I'm just gonna say, if we can't stack, I'm not playing. If we can't stack, I'm not playing. What's the point? Okay.
Like, nah, look, you know what? I'm gonna go over here and blow bubbles with the kids. Like, y'all getting mad, y'all getting mean.
And when we playing spades, if it ain't Joker, Deuce, Deuce, you need to go sit at the kitty table. Ain't nobody playing ace high. Ain't nobody playing ace high. But okay, so once they start shuffling and they pull cards, do you advise that they ask the question first, or should they, like, how should it go?
I advise, of course, you know, saying a little prayer to yourself, or I guess for your client to say a prayer to themselves and have their spirit team open up to communication via the cards or whatever. I would recommend asking the question first. I like to answer and ask questions while I'm shuffling. That when I'm done, I can just pull.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think, like, what's a question I can ask in my head? Get the answers. I'm trying to focus, but I'm like reading the comments too.
Because they foolish about thank you, Joker, Deuce,
Right,
That's
right.
right. That's right. But okay, so you would ask a question, pull the card. Now, you know, of course, we're not gonna go through a full, you know, Cartomancy tutorial and like how to read the playing cards tutorial. But when it comes to, I know you mentioned that some people do yes or no.
Right.
Of course, you can also, you know, the other way to do it is to get very clear, specific answers, right?
Right.
So if we're getting very clear, specific answers, when it comes to interpreting the cards, how would someone go about to learning how to interpret the suits as well as the numbers?
I would say there are a lot of correlations with numerology. Well, of course, cardology. So let's talk about cardology. So first card that came out is Two of Hearts, right? Twos generally, not, you know, it's not absolute, but twos generally represent a balance, equal partnership. But twos can also represent stagnancy. Things are balanced, things are well, but you might be stuck. Like, are you willing to rock the boat if you have to? Are you going to stay in this situation because it's comfortable, or are you willing to tip the boat over and see if you'll be able to swim? You know, or like Four of Diamonds. Fours also are a number of stability in cardology. Fours are more balanced than twos because there's more of an option to, like, okay, if you tip, you know, you still balance on either side. A four of diamonds. Diamonds can represent, of course, money. It can represent crossroads, and it can represent values.
Okay.
Are you in a situation where the team values you or your partner values you?
Mm.
I don't know if there are any downsides to a four particularly because they don't have that stagnancy that twos do.
Mm.
But next card is the Eight of Hearts. So again, where I got all these even numbers. I'm like, look, let me find a low vibrational card. Wait, hold on, so we can actually talk. But so
He said, let me find a low vibrational one, okay? So I can,
right. But so eights represent karmic returns, a lot of ancestral returns. They can represent past lives. They can represent karmic blessings oftentimes. Like an eight of hearts, you are being blessed with whatever endeavor this is that you're trying to pursue. There is a reason that this particular, like for me in cardology, the reason that it attracts me and speaks to me so much is because there's definitely an ancestor or more than one ancestor in a lot of cases that utilize cardology, and they're happy to have somebody living to communicate through, to pass their lessons on to. Something like, okay, so I purposefully, y'all, I pulled this one out because I was like, wait. But so Ace of Spades. My little thing messed up. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay. Ace of Spades. So aces oftentimes represent leveling up, initiations, moving forward, or a desire for change. Ace of Spades in particular are very witchy cards. Spades as a suit is very witchy. I would say all four of them are witchy, but like spades and clubs are different. And of course, I'm not saying, I don't know if you don't really say witchy on your channel.
Oh no, we embrace the term witch.
Okay.
We claim our power.
Okay.
We don't mind it at all.
Right. But aces are definitely leveling up, initiations. They are also the card of Imani, but they are also the card of initiating into cardology. Because like whenever you purchase a deck, that's what you see is the Ace of Spades. Aces also have the tendency as a birthday card, because everybody has a birthday card. Meant to add that before, but aces also have a tendency of being very selfish. And in anywhere like cardology, astrology, anyology, the first can be very selfish, very self-centered. But you can navigate that, especially with the aces. Certain Actually, I'm not going to talk about that. So, look, speaking of power of the tongue.
That's how I be though. Something come up and you be like, girl, let me tell you. We was doing a Zoom family meeting the other night, right? And I was about to say something about, we was talking about the alchemist, and I was about to say something about my vision of the next steps. And when I say, when spirit don't want you to speak on something, you get that full blown girl, my whole laptop froze, went black.
Okay.
As soon I said, spirit, I hear you, I see you, I'll wait. Pop back up, and I was right back in the Zoom like nothing had happened.
Okay.
Nothing had the computer ain't start over, it didn't crash. And I said, when spirit,
you gotta tell me twice.
You got to hush it up, okay?
Yep.
So, yeah.
But okay, so I'm gonna just talk on my birthday card.
Okay.
Because I know me. So my birthday card is the King of Clubs. Clubs people tend to be very, very, very heady. Always in their heads. They are the ultimate teachers. They love to learn. They're big on I guess YouTube, like communication, like so radio, YouTube, TikTok, social media.
Okay.
The thing about the kings in any suit is the tendency of Like, okay, I'm gonna listen to what you gotta say, but we're gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Mm,
We're gonna do what I say.
yeah.
But I would say kings in any suit are more so guidance and leadership. The queens in any suit is about guidance and service.
Mm,
So I would say kings can come I don't want to, like, again, y'all, this is not absolute, but kings are very much bosses, where queens, as far as cardology is concerned, are very much leaders. Does that make sense?
that makes sense.
Um, then you have things like the Jack, which, of course, if anybody's done a consultation with me, I always call the Jack the Harlem Nights energy.
Yeah.
They're the hustlers, the gamblers, the shit talkers, and they're not royalty, but they're always in the court
Hmm.
because they always found their way in the court somehow.
Yeah.
But they're always there, and they're usually required to be there.
And I don't know if you touched on this one, but the jokers.
Mm-hmm.
Do when the
I don't
joke.
use the jokers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I was guided not to, so I don't. If you use jokers, um, in cardology, oftentimes what a joker represents is the wild card.
Hmm.
Um, there is, I might have to look this up real quick. There is a singular birthday that is considered the Joker. I think it's December 31st. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I think it is December 31st. And some people,
Yeah.
I know some people consider the big joker your wild card, or some people say your cosmic self, and then some people consider the little joker or the baby joker your shadow self.
Mm.
So when they pull it, it's supposed to give like a read on the shadow self, or a sign that there's some shadow work that needs to be done. And then if it's the big joker, it's a sign that your higher self or your ori is coming through and connecting. Now, Imani had a good question that quite a few other people asked, which is,
Yeah.
how does one know their birthday card? How do you know which card is for your birthday?
So a website that y'all can check out is called thecardsoflife.com. You can go to that website. You can click on the birthday chart and scroll down and look for your card that way. To study more into cardology, not cartomancy, but to study more cardology, there is a book called Cards of Your Destiny by Robert Lee Camp.
Okay.
And he's written other types of books too. And he has Cards of Your Destiny, and I think Cards of Your Relationships. One, Cards of Your Destiny is blue. Cards of Love, I think it's called. But Cards of Love is the red book.
Okay.
So that goes much more into, it's almost like astrology in a sense.
Yeah.
You have your Saturn card for the rest of your life, but you also have your Saturn card in your week to weekly basis.
Yeah.
So those two books and thecardsoflife.com.
I love that. I love that. And see, a lot of folks, and that's why I said we definitely wouldn't have time to do a full,
Right.
cartomancy tutorial, because it's a lot, because you have to go through the suits and the numbers and the interpretation for each number with each suit and all of that stuff. And, we don't have time for all of that, because I definitely want us to be able to touch on hoodoo and root work specifically. Because one thing about our tribe, like, that is one of our common bonds, is that we are all root workers. We are all, hoodoo practitioners in a sense. As I'm very like with the labels,
Yeah.
but we all are rooted in root work, and I'm very passionate about like African spirituality, African traditional religion. I consider myself a free-flowing spiritualist. Most of us do. Most of us have some backgrounds with ATRs, but for the most part, most of us are free flowing. But the root work aspect is what really like bonded all of us, per se. Essentially, one of the things that bonded all of us, aside from SSU and the arts and all that good stuff. But for you specifically, when it comes to like hoodoo, when it comes to root work, somebody had even said in the chat, I was trying to catch the comments, they said, Sugabones changed my life with an egg wash, because that is something else that you also talk about on TikTok, especially your early days on TikTok.
Yeah.
Talking about, I remember you did a video on the black walnut bath, which was really good. You talked about egg wash and things like that. For you, what is the power of root work for you? Why are you attracted to root work, and how do you feel about the power of root work?
I am attracted to root work because I guess when I was looking for a spiritual home. Of course, well, I'm not going to go all into that, but I had my faith hopping days, is what I call it, about 23, 24 years old. But when I
Mm-hmm.
was looking for a spiritual home, I guess I kind of, like a lot of people, dove first into African traditional religions.
Mm.
And in studying that and, joining these online forums and groups and things like that, I came across Hoodoo.
Mm-hmm.
And Hoodoo, like when I started to study it, it was like, wait, this sounds a lot like home.
Yeah.
At first, it sounds like almost strictly, especially with my family, like holistic healing. Like my family was big on like teas and prayers and things like that.
Yeah.
But I realized how much like home root working felt.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it came very naturally for me, especially when I began to talk to my grandparents, my elders, um, my parents about how they grew up with certain teas and tinctures and things like that, and growing their own herbs and all that kind of stuff. But root work just felt like home for me for a lot of reasons. I felt like I got a lot of breathing room,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more breathing room than, of course, organized religion or honestly some ATRs, especially like with how small the ATR community was in Atlanta at the time
Mm-hmm.
when I was living there. Um, and it felt at the time less clickish. The word already slipped out, so I'm gonna let it slip out.
No,
But
because it is what it
yeah,
is.
but I felt like I got a little bit more breathing room. It felt more forgiving. I didn't, need to do certain things. I could literally use what I have, and I had what I needed a good like 95% of the time.
Yeah.
And if I needed something, I could go to either the farmer's market, the Dollar Tree, but I
Yeah.
didn't have to go to a priest to tell me how to do this, that, and the third.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can go to the crossroads and leave a little this, that, and this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But ultimately, root work just it like still feels right. Like I
Mm-hmm.
guess if I have to label it, I would definitely call myself a root worker slash free flowing spiritualist.
Yeah.
But like I would say root work is my root. All the other stuff I know is, the angel wheel sauce and the chicken and the
Yeah.
okra and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a beautiful way to describe it, as the root work being the root, because really, and as you just mentioned, when you grow up in this, it's really just like the foundation. It's just
Mhm.
what you do. It's just what was done.
Right.
There's not, the only way I could describe it is like the same way some folks grow up in the church, and I feel like that's one of the most common experiences within the African American community is folks grow up in the church,
Mhm.
and for them, like the way I guess like Sunday dinners may be normal, or like
Mhm.
whatever your regular church stuff was,
Right.
for you
Like
as a
wearing
child.
white on Pentecost Sunday.
Exactly.
It-
That's how regular root work is, to the point that it's really not even like a name used for it. It's just like
Mhm.
this is just what you do, using the power of the herbs and the earth, and like, those things to heal
Right.
the elements, to heal your body, and to like, make changes and things like that. It's just regular stuff, right? It's just your norm. And then everything else that we learn over time just kind of gets added to the foundation, or the root, as you said. It's just like our norm. Now, for you, what role has that root work played for you in your life? Like when it
Mhm.
comes to healing, when it comes to your wellness, what role has root work played for you in your adulthood, especially?
I would say it's literally in the name. Like it rooted me
Yeah.
because I was like, looking at these different traditions, which are also beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
but like they didn't resonate. They didn't feel like home, even if, I was in a group where everybody was really kind and all of that. It just didn't feel like me. So I would say root work definitely rooted me
Yeah.
because I realized, it didn't have to be this fabulous giant temple. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to be this huge altar in your house with like a full spread laid out, which is fine if that's you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, royal you. If that is you, that is you.
Yeah.
But root work rooted me in how things don't have to have a particular aesthetic. Like, this is gonna be so funny when this gets posted, but my very first altar was let me see if I can, it's back there, but was a little glass cross candle holder, not a cross, not a candle, but a little candle holder with the cross on the back of it. And literally I got a little TV tray that get at Walmart and some white cloth. And I was living with my folks at the time. So what I did is, I put the candle, got a little white tea candle, put that on top of the little TV tray with the white cloth over it. And I would put my offerings underneath it, like where it was hidden. So because it draped all the way to the floor. So my intro to Hoodoo was kind of very similar to how they did it back in the day. Like, it had to be kind of hidden.
Yeah.
But as I delved deeper into it, I realized, you could move in a way that is both and. It doesn't have to be a singular thing. Like, I had somebody recently ask me, do I teach classes? And the main reason I don't, aside from a bad attention span, is but one of the reasons I don't is because I do use the Bible. And I've posted on my TikTok recently, occasionally I go to church, and I know that there are a lot of emotions around that. There's a lot of debate around that.
Let's get into it, though, sis, because this is a discussion I would love to have with you specifically, on this platform. Because if y'all know me, y'all know for the most part I stay out of the ATR debates and the Hoodoo debates and the who's doing it right, who's doing it wrong debates, right? Because everybody does their own thing, and let's be clear. There's a foundation of root work or hoodoo. The terms can be used interchangeably, right? Hoodoo is the more commonly well-known term, nowadays, but root work is the foundation of hoodoo, right? But, one thing about it is there's hoodoo and then there's you-do. There's hoodoo where it's like the foundation and this is how things are done, but then there's also you-do, where you do your hoodoo, you do your root work in the way that feels right for you. Exactly. And that might not be the way it's traditionally done, but it's just the way that feels right for you. And that's why I don't involve myself in the debates, and specifically when we're talking about the Bible. Right? Because a lot of folks have their own trauma that they've attached to church and to the Bible and to religion and all of that. And y'all know I'm very big on separate your trauma from what actually is. If we're talking about traditional root work and hoodoo, traditionally, and hoodoo as a whole, the Bible was a part of it because it had to be. The Bible was the guide. The Bible, the Psalms was used. A lot of the work was hidden in the church, So a lot of like the spiritual practices were done in the church. We're talking about the ring shout and folks catching the Holy Ghost or being mounted and like that being interchangeable. We're talking about the use of herbs and things like that and that being interchangeable. We're talking about foot washes and herbal baths, that being interchangeable. All of those things were hidden within the church. And the Psalms in the Bible, the Psalms specifically, as well as Proverbs, was used in
Songs of Solomon.
Absolutely, was used in a lot of root work. And because of some people's own trauma, and like, of course, the historical trauma of religion being weaponized against our ancestors, a lot of people choose to detach the Bible from their hoodoo.
Right.
And they don't want to use the Bible. And I respect that. I'm not here to debate you. I'm not here to say you're wrong. But also the people who do choose to use the Bible are not wrong either. They are keeping the tradition of their ancestors going. So the debate becomes, well, that wouldn't be your ancestors' tradition if the Bible wasn't forced on them. But you don't know that, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know that, though. Like, you don't know what their tradition would have been. You don't know what they would have become. You don't know what this world would have been if colonization had not happened. We don't know for sure. We can all suppose and we can all guess, but let's be clear. People were traveling and religions were spreading before colonization occurred. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't about to get into that debate, but if we really want to talk about it, Christianity is an ATR. But hey, we ain't gonna get into that debate either. But just understanding, like for you, when it comes to using the Bible in your hoodoo practices and with your root work, how do you feel about that whole conversation?
um, I guess my ultimate feeling is just being understanding.
Mhm.
I can be very understanding and forgiving if, as long as you're not telling me what to do.
Yeah,
Because to me, it's like that's why you left organized religions, because everybody was trying to tell you what to do. That
exactly.
also means you don't tell other people what to do. And
Exactly.
like you mentioned, there are some non-negotiables,
Yeah.
but it's not absolute. And I realized that, especially even with sharing folk tales, I guess kind of backtracking,
Hmm.
um, that trauma, that church trauma, or let's say Abraham trauma,
Yeah.
for some people, just Abraham trauma,
All Abrahamic religion.
right? That has bled into how they interpret um, oral tradition and folk tales, because they were beaten in the head with the Bible, or whichever one of those books.
Hmm.
This is black and white. This is what you have to do, or you going to hell, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what you have to do, or you're the reason your family's burning.
Right.
And they carry that with them to a story about, let's see, which folktale, like a folktale that might have biblical characters,
Hmm.
because once again, that's what they had. So, like, oh, let me use these characters to explain this thing to make the kids laugh.
Exactly.
And people take that literally because they were taught to take things literally. They were taught that
Mhm.
things are absolute. It can't be both and. It has to be
Yeah.
either or.
Right. Right.
So I see that trauma carrying into other aspects of African, I guess, diasporic traditions.
Absolutely.
Um, and also, not going to name names, but I know of people, and I've been, in communication with people who grew up Muslim,
Hmm.
and like their root work is connected to the Quran.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sure that I've met Jewish African Americans who practice ancestral veneration. I'm assuming uses the Torah as well,
Hmm.
or add Jewish traditions into their root work. I have met root workers that are atheist. I guess maybe they don't choose that label, maybe atheist agnostic.
Agnostic. Yeah.
But since it's a faith-based system, they may not necessarily have a faith in God, but what they would call a source,
Hmm.
or like you know for what how they navigated, there's at least proof that their ancestors existed.
Exactly.
So they honor source even if they don't understand source.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That definitely makes sense.
So it's I love that term, by the way, Hoodoo.
Mhm.
There is hoodoo and then there is Hoodoo.
Yeah.
So I definitely practice Hoodoo. Does it work for you? Like I have
Exactly.
a van oil that I make. Like my specialty as far as oils right now is protection. And I have
Hmm.
a van oil that does have a biblical verse in it. Like, hang on, see if I can reach it. Hang on, y'all.
Okay, no problem. In the meantime, as she gets the oil, I want to answer this question. And basically, she just answered it, which is the answer is no, you don't have to be Christian to
No.
practice voodoo. You can be of any religion or of no religion. And
Mm-hmm.
it really just is about what feels right for you. Again, the foundation of hoodoo is root work. And I have a whole separate video on this about root work and conjure women and da 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 da. And you can just, go watch that full video for more information and more details. But root work is the use of the elements, including the earth, the herbs, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, the sun, the water, all of that, everything, the use of the
Right.
elements to do what it is that you desire to do. You
Yes.
align the elements with your intention and you utilize it in your practices, right? That's what root work is. It's working the root, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
use it to root or to ground in your intention, whatever you are doing. And there
Yes.
doesn't need to be a religion that's tied to it. It's the main source or the main key is your intention. That's the most powerful part.
Yes. But this is some, I'm like low on it. I made it a while ago, but some van oil I have
Oh,
made.
I remember that one. Okay.
I have dispersed it amongst family and friends as well. I'm, as you can see, getting ready to make another jar. And of course,
Mhm.
shout out to Rozzy for the bottle, because I bet some of y'all recognize what this bottle actually was, what this used to be. But this is my protection oil that I put on every day before I go out. But all that to say, there is a biblical verse in there.
In it that's attached to it, and then that's how some people use their holy book, whether
Mhm.
it's the Quran or the Bible or the Torah, whatever they want to use, but they will pull certain verses or scriptures or surahs or whatever out of it,
Mhm.
and they will basically make that they're a part of their intention for whatever they are using, right? So whether if it's an oil, that oil is infused with herbs and other things, as well as with your intention. So when she says like there is, a scripture attached to it, that's essentially what she's talking about. Now for you, Sister Queen, okay, because I don't want to keep you too long. I I want us to get into your story. Okay. Previously, I have mentioned, I always use you as an example, and I never go in detail because I believe, again, it's not my right to tell somebody else's story.
Mhm.
So I never go in detail, but I always tell the community, like, one day I'm gonna have my sister on, and she gonna tell her story, and she is here. But I always use you as an example of you have to be careful with your root work because y'all, this is not a game. You know what I'm saying? This is not a game. And something I
Yes.
always tell people is I'm like, y'all, for me, I keep it centered in wellness. I keep it centered in protection and prosperity and things like that. Because this stuff really works. It really works.
Mhm.
This is not like no light, like play. And to some people, it may sound wild, right? Like if I'm like right here, I got to, as we're talking, I got a smoke bowl going and there's, cinnamon sticks and I'm like, oh, I'm putting all of these different herbs together and people are like, what? That sounds crazy. But it works, y'all. It works. It happens. It does things. And I always consider you a great example of this thing works, and some people will do or want to do something to protect themselves, but they'll do it with the intention of by any means necessary, and not knowing what by any means necessary could actually look like. So that's one thing. And another thing is, I think this is in the Bible, I believe so. Okay, the pastors used to say an old scripture that states, touch not thine anointed, do thy prophet no harm.
Mhm.
Okay. So when we say we do protection work, and this is why I tell the people, you don't really need to do for me personally, I always say I'm not big on the return to senders because that means you got to catch the ball to throw it back. When you return to sender, somebody throw a ball, you got to catch it and you throw it back. I don't want nothing to do with your energy. I protect my boundaries. Anything you try to do is always going to come right back on you, whether good or bad. When we say these things, folks got to be careful of what they do because you will be protected by any means necessary. You will be covered by any means necessary. And I think you have a great, great experience of the power of root work, the power of your intention, the power of protection, and how that goes and flows. So I'm gonna just put that out there, Sister Queen, and you tell as much or as little as you desire. But I'm gonna mute myself and you speak your truth.
Okay, so do you want me to start at the beginning?
I told you I was muting myself, and you tell your truth. This is you, sis, because the folks need to hear this.
Right.
Look, Imani already know. Imani said, "Woo wee." Okay, y'all don't even know what's about to happen. I agree. Start at the beginning so the people can understand the background of the situation, what caused you to have to do the protection work, and then the results of the work. You the griot, sis. You do your thing. Do
I
your thing.
am the griot. Okay. So, um, I guess the plot summary of my story is that I have basically lived a lifetime movie featuring a black woman. um, I guess I'll start from the beginning. So this started technically March of 2019, right? So my partner posted on Facebook that we were in a relationship. Cool. The very next day, I get a message from, I get, he's a triple X now, so. But I get a message from an ex about linking up. This is somebody I've not heard from in 9 months, y'all. So I figured that I've been ghosted. 9 months, like, dude, I could have had a baby, like, bruh. But I, leave this long message about why they've been busy. They've been adding all kinds of stuff to their house. They haven't, had a moment to sit down or none of that. Mind you, we are not friends on Facebook, but he just sends this long message the day after it's public that I'm seeing my new partner. So I, send the message back like, hey, I'm glad you're well, whatever. Happy you got the permits and all that to add to your house, but I am in a relationship. And so they sent out this long thing about like, oh my God, I missed my chance and blah, 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 and a lot of interesting circle talking, especially in retrospect. I wish I had it pulled up, but of course I blocked him. But so me and my partner, we go celebrate my 30th in New Orleans. Come back, and I've discovered, because was I living with my parents? Yeah, I was living with my parents, but I was getting ready to move out. And they sent just this box, this cereal box that was covered in like pink and black and skulls, which are 3 things that I love, in case y'all haven't noticed. Like, I love skulls. Like, y'all see, I love skulls. So a lot, and they worked somewhere that they would have had a lot of access to media type things. So there were like Powerpuff Girl buttons. There were pictures of the additional part that he added to his house. He had been promoted, and he sent me a picture of how much he'd be making now that he'd get a promotion.
He wanted you to know I could take care of you. Okay.
Right. That was weird though.
Yeah, very weird. Very weird.
That was weird. But he sent me pictures of like all the corners of the house, and like, oh yeah, this could be your little work nook. Like, this could be your book nook. This could be, where you record videos. Like, dude, I told you I am in a relationship. I'm seeing somebody. And so like, and this, my whole family is seeing this, y'all. I'm living with my parents at the time. My brother is there. Like, possibly the worst thing you want to do is open something like that in front of siblings, younger siblings especially. But we were like, yeah, this is weird. So a little bit later, I get kind of last minute, but roped into a play with my friend. Like, she texts me like, hey, we need somebody to play this character for the 1 Minute Play Festival in Atlanta, right? So of course, for y'all that don't know, the 1 Minute Play Festival in Atlanta is this little weekend thing where every little play is a minute, and it goes into the next scene or the next play. But it's I got called into that, and I was like, oh, okay. So I think by that point, I had basically officially moved into my new place with my roommate. Mind you, that guy does not have that address. So I am in my new bedroom with my partner. We're chilling, watching TV, and we hear our neighbors yelling. But we're new to the neighborhood. We're like, okay, that might just be what they do. They might just be loud. And they were kind of loud. But it sounded like they were yelling at somebody. So the next morning, my partner leaves earlier. I leave to go to rehearsal. And my neighbor's like, hey, do you know some skinny white dude in glasses? And I was like, yeah. And he told me that they saw him bring somebody else's trash can towards my balcony, which is where my room was facing, and jump on the trash can and tried to reach the balcony. And when they were walking out of their house, they saw what he was doing and they yelled at him, and he jumped off and ran off into the bushes, right? So I am going to rehearsal with that knowledge.
So we have to emphasize for the people who are I don't want to say I don't want to say slow, but for the people who who lag in cognition, okay?
Right.
When she says skinny white dude with glasses, that is the ex
Right.
partner who was trying to connect with her. Okay, now go ahead.
Right. So I am going with that knowledge. I messaged my roommate. I messaged my beau. I say beau instead of boyfriend, y'all. But I messaged my beau and I let them know. And when I get, mind you, this is my first time working with the people that I'm rehearsing, except for my friend that messaged me. I let them know, but we get to rehearsing, right? We get to blocking, and we're going to enter, exit, all that type of stuff. Um, and this was at a theater in Atlanta that used to be a warehouse. So people now know that it's a theater space now and a rehearsal space, but it looks like a warehouse. It's a very kitschy, niche type of area. As we are rehearsing, he walks through our blocking. I don't know how he knew where one, my address was, and two, where I was going to be rehearsing. Because this building, to anybody who doesn't know it better, looks like a building where they sell paint or, office supplies. And so the whole group saw that because he walked right through us and then tried to act like, he said my name like he was surprised. And, I'm like frozen. And there's these big dude that was in my that was a castmate that's like, hey dude, can you back up? We're rehearsing here. Everybody that you see, like everybody is rehearsing here. So he watches and makes sure he leaves, and I go a little bit more into detail about what's going on. They were like, oh, okay. And so they were like, we're going to keep our eye out. And we made sure what was the director? Not the director. Oh my God. Oh my God, what was his name? No, I don't need to say his name, but we made sure that the man that was going to be over the whole event knew. So like we made sure everybody knew. Um, that was one weekend. I also alert my job. So I'm letting everybody in the vicinity know.
Because at this point, you already mentally know he's a full blown stalker at this point.
Right.
Right.
Right. Because also like the neighborhood I live in, for a couple of things, it doesn't, I don't want to put that on the gentrification map, but like my neighborhood is like kind of, well, at the time was very tucked away. And at night it is pitch black. There's like one street light. They might have two now, but it's like one street light. So unless your porch light is on, you step outside, you're not going to see anything. So I don't know how you knew what that area is, or that kitschy little theater space that we were rehearsing at. So I am getting, calls and messages from him. I'm blocking him on everything. He uses another number to call and message, email, all of that. So I go to like one of my little Hoodoo groups and I start letting them know online in this online forum, like, hey, this is going on. And so we had a situation where we called the cops. And of course, I'm traveling from Buckhead to Decatur. That takes about an hour after work. So I call the cops and I let them know. Oh, wait, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Because I'm not trying to keep you on here all day too. But
it's okay.
I'm like trying to remember. What happened? So I know I alerted the Hoodoo groups and all that stuff. And, I sat down and I prayed. And I was giving information on what to do, because I would say I'm like a B, well, maybe an A- forager. And so it was a lot of things growing in our neighborhood at the time. So this is what I started to do. I'm not going to relate all the stuff.
Because that's the part they're waiting for. I'm about to say.
I'm going to say everything.
Okay, good.
But what I will say is, here's what Spirit said for me to do. We had pokeberry. in our neighborhood. Like a lot of pokeberry. If you don't cook it right, pokeberry can be very poisonous. It can also kind of boil your tongue a little bit. We had that. I utilize, I'm not going to say the names, but I'm going to say hot spices. And of course, this was summertime, so I scooped up some anthill and put that in there. And there were other things that I added in addition to his picture, name, birthday, all of that to that jar. That was one of the jars that I used, mind you.
So mind you, she said that she prayed on it and spirit led her to go forage, which means that she went and got it and picked the things herself, came back and did some jar work. Okay. And added those things to put them together, put them in a jar along with his name, picture, birthday, and some other things. And that was just one thing that she did. Now it's found. Go ahead.
It was one of the things I did. I also did some hot foot. The neighbors told me that he was they saw him. They were all on alert, mind you. This is a like little neighborhood this big, largely older Black people. So he would stick out like a sore thumb for one. So they told me that they saw him in a tree one night over my car. There was where I parked and there was a tree over my car. And one of my neighbors came out and, this is the South. Everybody's got a little, I don't know if I can say the word.
Pew, pew.
Yeah, a little cough, a little cough medicine.
One man down. Okay, go ahead.
Everybody has a little cough medicine, right? And so my neighbor saw him, and I'm hearing this from my room. But my neighbor saw him that night and took his gun out and they're yelling at each other. So the next day, my neighbors alert me of that. So it's just these like months it feels like, because mind you, this started in March. This is sometimes in the late spring, early summer. This didn't end till November. So I am just high stress. I'm going to the ancestors. I'm talking to God like, hey, they're, stressful for my roommate because she has to go all over the place whenever she leaves work. She has to go to her parents' house. She has to go to her friend's house over here because we're trying to change up our schedules so that he can't track us, right? So one night, I think like me and my partner are at my place and we do hear something. And so my partner goes downstairs, and again, this neighborhood is pitch black, but goes downstairs and, is walking around, like checking the downstairs and all of that. And then I think they slept downstairs that night. I can't remember. But the next morning we go and we see the back window in our townhouse was like that front portion was broken. And then like the panel part, like somebody tried to use a glass cutter to get in. That was the day. So the day after that, we called the cops. And the cops ended up, I'm saying this in a little bit of love, but ended up being basically useless. She basically said, I can't do anything but tell him that he's being creepy. And best you can do is file a restraining order. So in Georgia, the restraining order has to be filed in the county that the damn stalker lives. So that was fun. But so we do that, and it's like at this point it's almost a comedy because they cannot get a hold of him to place the restraining order. And so it ends up being charges get pressed. They can't get a hold of him to serve the papers. The cops would show up to his job. He had taken off early that day. Or the cops would show up to his job and he had taken another car. Mind you, this whole time he is finding ways to communicate with me. I'm making sure to screenshot and print every message that he sends, and I'm not responding.
Right.
The job I worked at, well, one of the jobs I worked at the time was on a military base. So for a while, that was the job I felt safest at, because that wasn't going to happen.
And get on base without proper ID, credentials, and all that stuff.
Right.
So
And I
you
let
said,
them know the situation, what he looked like. There was a picture of him on our bulletin and all of that.
okay.
Um, where was I?
So you tried, they couldn't get in contact with him to be able to serve
Right.
him with the restraining order. So
Right. There was through
and in the meantime, you're still doing all of your
I'm
protection
still,
organs and stuff like that.
I mean, hot foot jar, all of that,
All the
frozen,
things.
all the things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And of course, you got family and friends praying for you, of
Right.
course. But
Right.
we've always kind of been of the mentality that do no harm but start no shit.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to hurt you, but if you try something, I'm not going to sit here and pray. I'm going to react.
Exactly.
But so I'm still doing all of this through certain connections. We had somebody that could put a SWAT team together.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a whole SWAT team outside of his house one night.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. People in Atlanta are watching this. They're probably going to start making the connections, but they couldn't get a hold of them. My parents hired a detective. The detective was parked outside of his house, and like that man did not come out. So it's like, what the and for anybody that knows, like, detectives are high. Detectives are expensive. But
and they're trying to get him to come out just so they can serve him with the protection order.
Right.
So it's not even like they're trying to arrest him or anything like that. They're just trying to serve him with the order of protection.
With the order. But because he had been evading, so through again a certain cop connection, there was a way we could communicate with a security guard at his job, and that's how they finally got him, because his boss called him to his office and explained the situation, and he got fired. So finally we'll serve the papers. I think the first trial, ironically enough, was in August. He didn't show up. So I'm waiting there with, that was just a day, but I am waiting there with a bunch of other people who were targets of stalkers. There was one person whose stalker was in prison and was still finding ways to communicate. There was one person who was disabled and I'm sure would have issues, trying to get away from somebody, God forbid, if that person tried to confront them. So didn't make it. So we had to set the court date back. So we set the court date back to September. He comes in. And this is the part, the whole thing sounds like a movie. And I know I'm skipping details, but the whole thing sounds like a movie. This part is the funny part, right? His lawyer, and I hope your ass is watching this, is this short, like red, like beet red white man with wavy, like how we used to do finger waves in the 90s, with wavy white hair that stops about here. And he talks like Foghorn Leghorn. And that was his lawyer. I'm representing myself. And I remember seeing him and connecting his face with the email I had received about the court date and everything. And I'm like, I know this shit is not real. This shit, this isn't happening to me. I'm watching this on TV. This is not me right now. But that's his lawyer. I can't. Did he have on suspenders? I bet he had on suspenders. But so I saved everything, all the ways he kept contacting me, even if I kept blogging him. I screenshot everything. I printed everything. I maintained the birthday box he gave me. And I take the stand and I tell them the whole story. His lawyer didn't know that I showed up with that evidence. The security guard brings it to the judge and she's looking at it and her face is just like, And so she's reading the screenshot. She's looking at the pictures. And the lawyer asked to see those. And he's looking, and like now he looks scared. So he asked me this stuff, and he said, one of the things he said was, don't you think that my client seems a little, immature, a little innocent, to be dealing with this? And I remember telling him, and Bo can confirm, like I said, that is a 31-year-old man. Ain't no little immature.
Ain't no immature, ain't no innocent, ain't no nothing. So,
Like,
so let's just be clear for everybody who's not really catching this. This is a Black woman coming to court after months of being stalked and harassed. She has evidence of being stalked and harassed. And his lawyer, first off, and this is after he evaded being served the order of protection and evaded encounters with the police. So that should say enough about his character.
right.
The fact that you even had to continue and go to court with this evidence and fight for your protection is crazy, but you do that. And his lawyer says, doesn't my client seem a little immature and innocent? Nigga, what? This man was in a tree. Are we serious right. Innocent, immature. Look at the box. What are you talking about? But that, and keep in mind, this is a white boy. So of course he gets the innocence. He gets the isn't he too? He wouldn't do this.
And mind you, the whole time, like I'm speaking, because he didn't get a chance to speak after that. But the whole time he's speaking, he's like looking down and twiddling his thumbs the whole time.
Playing a role.
Playing
a role. So okay, so y'all are in court, and what happens in court? What's the final result of that court date?
So the judge takes me and his lawyer into a room, and they start relaying what they're going to do. They say, we don't want to give a restraint. Well, what did they say? She takes me to a room, and they were like, yeah, we're going to file this instead of a restraining order because now he lost his job. Because this is whatever they said, it was stronger than a restraining order. Specifically because he lost his job over this. They were like, that gives him strict focus on you. And so this we're going to put this forward instead, because with this he won't even be able to go shop at the same Walmart as you. They're like, so when she came out, the judge took her place. She came out and she said, if you see her anywhere, walk the other way. The restraining order is placed, or whatever it was called, and it was done. So
now y'all leave court, and you have this protective, whatever the name of it is, in play, right?
Right.
So then, what's the next encounter with him?
The next encounter. Oh wait, this is after the fact, but I remember the next encounter is that play I was in, the 1 minute play. He showed up both nights. My parents came the second night. My dad is a veteran, so he checked the car. He checked for things and all of that. Everybody was keeping an eye out. They found out after everything that he was there.
So now she's in the play. Now the play is happening, and
I think I'm going a little out of order, but this is before
comes to the play.
Yeah, he came to the play. When we left, everybody. Well, the first night he was there, we left. My castmates surrounded me. Oh, it was a beautiful thing. But my castmates surrounded me. My homegirl took me in her car that was parked somewhere else, and we left my car there overnight. And he's just looking around, or what they told me is that he was just looking around, like waiting. They could tell he was waiting. The next night, the night when my parents came, he was there. We got word that he was there, and the cops were called by the man who was running the event. And they were detained and all of that. So after that night, he sends me this long ass email through some other email that he created. But it was peek into his psyche, to say the least. It was some story about how he feels like a little boy trapped all the time, and how he's been having dark thoughts, and how he keeps dreaming about falling off of a cliff. Remember that, y'all. He told me that he was having dreams about him falling off of cliffs and waking up at the very end. But okay, so getting that part out. After the gavel is bit and all that stuff, the restraining order is in place. I'm still very tense because ultimately, what does that do? So this is so that was in August. I don't really hear much going on. I can't remember what all happened in September. But anyway, whenever Afropunk was that year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Afropunk Atlanta. I think this was the second.
October. They usually have it in
Yeah,
October in Atlanta.
yeah. So it was October. Um, I think this was the second night because I think that was the night FKA Twigs performed. I went to Afropunk with two girlfriends, and this is Afropunk Atlanta specifically. This is a place where he would stick out like a sore thumb, like almost most parts of Atlanta. But he sticks out like a sore thumb. And we were sitting down. I think we were just kind of getting off our feet for a second. And I look up and I see him like a few feet away. I get up and I just dart. And I find some cops. I tell them the situation, and they can't really do anything.
Right.
They were like, I described him and everything. He wouldn't be hard to see, but they were like, okay, we'll keep an eye out for him. My homegirls are, surrounding me. We make sure to move somewhere where I guess you can't really see him. So Afropunk was the last time I saw him in this realm.
In person. Right.
Right.
Okay.
So we are still getting to the fun part. Or let's say we're finally at the fun part. So what day is Day of the Dead? That's November 2nd?
November 5th.
3rd.
Okay. It was Day of the Dead in November.
Day of the Dead, right.
Yes.
So this is Day of the Dead. This is, I think, that would have been my third time celebrating Day of the Dead in my spiritual sense. So I cooked like this huge meal for the ancestors and all that, right? So, I'm at my house. I had this huge meal with my ancestors. During this whole month process, like, of course, PTSD and paranoia is starting to show itself. Because I started doing things like I took the shower curtain off of my shower and just had the liner because I wanted, I didn't want to, somebody to walk up and open my shower curtain. I was having dreams about him. I remember that night I took a shower. I kept seeing his head everywhere. So I shower real quick. I hadn't taken a bubble bath in all those months, mind you, because I just did not want to be in a vulnerable state doing anything. So the morning after Day of the Dead, I am standing.
So 1 second, just to confirm, I double checked and Day of the Dead is November 1st. So this
November 1st. Okay.
So Halloween would have been the 31st, and remember this is why they thought. So that's important because I'm like, okay, so y'all got to keep in mind Halloween would have been the 31st. The next day is Day of the Dead, which is November 1st. Right. Okay, so as she explained, she's been dealing with this for months, from about March of that year, and now we are in November. So the paranoia, her not wanting to have a full shower curtain, making sure it's just a liner, clear liner, so she could be able to see, having dreams, being concerned, like having to park far away and get rides from other people in case he's tracking her. Like all of this is happening. So this is how she's thinking. This is the fear that she's kind of living in, still doing her protection work and stuff. But of course, things are getting real. So now it's Day of the Dead, and go ahead.
So real quick, up to that point, my dad, of course, former military veteran, set up like wiring in our backyard. Our backyard was pretty small, but he set up wiring in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
He did things like on the other side of the fence, showed me where everything was and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
My roommate helped. We put like bells on all the doors too. So we had like a full setup, like spiritually and physically.
Yeah.
Um, so the morning after Day of the Dead, I am standing on my balcony. In one of my favorite moo too. But
Mm-hmm.
my neighbor is walking out of her house. I say, "Hey," and she said, "Hey, did you hear that last night?" And I said, "What?" And she was like, "There was some white boy in a hoodie that blew himself up." And I'm like, so I go back inside. I, my roommate's awake. I tell my roommate, and we bring up a laptop because we didn't have cable. We just had streaming,
Yeah.
and we started to look it up. And mind you, this is the day after Halloween. So there's this woman in the neighborhood that was behind ours, um, that's talking to the news, and she's saying like they thought they heard like I think they thought it was like an 18-wheeler or like a transformer or something, like a car hit a bad pothole or something,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't think anything of it. And she went out on her porch because they heard something like go like on their window, and
Mm-hmm.
they went out to their back porch and she saw a hand. And she told her husband that kids were throwing their Halloween decorations all over the place. And her husband saw it, and he said, "That's not Halloween decorations." So they called the cops, news, and whoever. And me and my roommate are watching this. And then this is all happening so fast, but it's like it feels like seconds after we watch that interview because they're still covering it. I get a call on my phone, and the guy was really nice. It kind of throws you off. He's like, "Hi, this is such and such. How are you?" And I say, "I'm good." He's like, "Okay, so I'm with the FBI." And I'm like, "Okay." So he's like, "I'm with the FBI. I am very glad that you answered the phone. We would like to come to your house for questioning. Is that okay with you?" And I said, "I don't know if you can say no to the FBI, but I'm in a little shock."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, y'all can come over." And he confirms the address. And he's like, "Okay, we'll be there in 30 minutes." So I'm letting everybody know. Like I think I'm off that day. Bo's at work. Like I'm messaging everybody. I told my parents, everybody, like, "Hey, feds are coming to my house, y'all."
Yeah.
And so they came, and no, this is what threw me off. So he called me back and he was like, "Hey, we're at the gas station up the street. Do you want anything?" That I was like, "No, no, thank you."
So they're trying to show themselves friendly. They're trying to
Right.
make
They're trying to show, and that's
themselves
great, but
yeah.
like my mental level, like I don't want boiled peanuts right now. Like
Right, because you
my
done
mind.
found out, like y'all got to think she just found out that this happened. She
Right.
goes and she's searching and she's finding out the details of like, okay, this was a white boy who blew up,
Right.
and now the feds, as she's reading and seeing these things, the feds call her phone and they're
Mhm.
like, basically, we on our way to come question you. Do you mind?
Right.
They, call you at the store. They come to your house. When they get to your house, what happens?
Hmm. So they get to my house. This it was just so much that day. Because on some sadly very vain bullshit, I put on a full face of makeup because I was like, "Y'all are not gonna have me on the news without my eyebrows and with my
Okay, y'all,
like,
I'm gonna be honest.
y'all gonna have me out here looking in my bonnet in my moo.
Yeah.
But I got dressed.
I knew it was gonna happen. I knew, and this is why I never wanted to tell y'all the story, because I knew that y'all would start doing y'all Googles. Okay. And when I say this story,
I mean,
it's
I
so
am
real.
I'm a free agent. I can like I told y'all about the letter, remember?
And at this point, so overall, to sum up the full story, this man was stalking her. She was doing for many months. She was doing her root work, doing her protection work, doing her prayers. Went, of course, still the legal route. And this is what's important to note is that she didn't, she was doing the root work, doing her prayers and her protection, but she still was going the legal way as well to make sure she was protected and safe and well. He was throughout all of these months, he's still stalking her. It's of course having effects on her mental health and just her feeling safe in her own home. This particular day, which would really be Halloween Day, he came over with the intent to do what? What do you think his intention was?
Oh, it's clear what his intentions was, especially communicating with the FBI. They were questioning me, and they weren't saying it because of, I guess, partially because of the optics, because this white man came down here where several, honestly, but where a predominantly African-American church was.
Yeah.
So our predominantly African-American neighborhood. So it's like, was it just me or was this a whole statement? So they had to make sure it was what it ended up being.
Yeah.
But they were questioning me and everything, and eventually they basically said, so it was him. And the guy who initially called me confessed that when we heard you answer that phone, the whole office just sighed, because they were like, everybody was just relieved. So he explained what happened. He had a homemade bomb strapped to his chest, and he was going to come through the back, because that was behind in the back of the house, which is where my room was at the front. They think he was either going to leave it for us to discover in the morning, or that he was going to, I guess, break in from the back of the house.
Explode. I'm trying to be YouTube friendly, kaboom himself and you all together.
Right, gonna pull a little Oppenheimer.
But either way, his intention was to for this bomb to blow up on you and to hurt and harm you. But on the way to the house,
he tripped and blew himself up. And I told everybody, I remember I told the group chat, I told, my family, my parents and all of that. I told everybody what happened. And this kind of goes in with oral traditions. Like, there was a lot of dark jokes that day, because my dad was way down on the other side of town, but both parents eventually came over. Co-workers were sharing jokes, because like one of my friends said, did he have blue eyes? One blue over here, one blue over there.
Imani in the chat, she said it was an explosive time.
It was an explosive time.
But it really was, the sentiment, family, like, first off, of course, it's like, hey, the ancestors don't play. You know what I'm saying? Because, and that's why before she told the story, I said it's a testament of that good old scripture. Touch not thy my anointing, do my prophets no harm. And she was doing her root work, doing her protection work, and it came through. His intent was to come over there, end her and end himself potentially, and on the way, before he could even get to her threshold, he trips and blows himself up. So that's what I'm talking about when I say, when your boundaries are up, when you are protected, you are protected. It will be. And whatever their intention is will return to them abundantly well. Swift and abundant. Swift and abundant. To the point that the neighbors will think you are a Halloween decoration.
I will say,
the neighbors thought it was Halloween decoration, baby.
I will say,
it's a good old prop. The kids are here throwing in my hands, baby. And it's a real hand.
And out of all of this, the FBI did discover he rented a U-Haul truck. So I guess he was going to leave the bomb and maybe skip town. But they found his ID in the car. Like, his wallet was in the U-Haul.
Yeah.
But I will say, out of all of this, I know I hate that my partner, my roommate, and family was involved and affected by this. I really hate that the lady living behind us saw that, probably was outside without her glasses, thinking that this was like, I hate that for them. But I've never confronted them. I never confronted anybody outside of my part of the neighborhood, like, about what happened. Like, yo. But that really, I think that was the root and root work that really rooted me, like, oh, not only is this shit real, but like, yo, I'm being heard. Like, hold on. Like,
Yeah.
I'm being heard, protected, all of that. Like, wait, this isn't light work.
And
You're
your works was really, really working. And then on top of
right.
that, not only was it really working, but as she mentioned, the FBI contacted her because y'all got to think the connection was easy to make. They find his ID. Of course, he was smithereens at that point. He was, somebody said confetti.
Yes.
At
The
that
white
point,
man
he was
can
in
jump.
pieces. But they find the ID in the U-Haul, so they know who he is. As soon as they search him, they just had a court case that August. This is November 1st. They just had a court case in August. They are immediately going to contact her because she's the first one that is like, okay, well, something happened, regardless of what we think may have happened. We kind of have an idea, but we need to get in contact with her to, number one, make sure she's safe, and number two, make sure she ain't did it.
Right.
But thankfully, fast forward, the case was recently-ish, because I remember you posted it in the group chat.
That
You
was
got
like
the title paper.
2021, was
Right,
it?
that sounds like recently-ish, maybe
Right.
21, 22, maybe, but it feels kind of recent. But like, I know it was more than a year ago though. But
Yeah.
the case was officially closed by the FBI. The investigation was closed.
Right.
And you are, of course, all cleared and all free to tell
Okay,
your
all free.
story. But
Yes.
it was, immediately, as soon as Dee posted the picture of the FBI, paper that she got sent saying that the investigation was closed, I was like, girl, when you're ready to tell a story, let me know, because this is a story. And there's articles on this, as Deja said, she found the story. There's articles like, this is a real
Yeah,
thing.
some other people said they found it.
And see, for says some folks, like, when you tell them this, it sounds so crazy.
Yes.
It really sounds like a fake movie. It sounds like it could be a skit or something like that. Like, oh, you was being stalked and he was on the way to your house with a bomb and he was trying to blow you up, but he accidentally tripped and ended up blowing himself up. What? It sounds crazy. But y'all, this really happened. And it
Yes.
really speaks to the power of prayer, the power of that root work, the power of your protection, the power of your intentions, the power of God. Of course, we can't forget God and ancestors and all divine spirit energy that was involved in protecting her. So that mother couldn't get to her house. There was literally, they say, a hedge of protection. There was a hedge of protection
Right.
around that space, and he was not able to touch her. But since, like I said, it's been a while. It's been over a year since, the case was closed. And I know it took some time for you to heal from this. Can you touch on that? Because, see, some people will hear this story and they get fascinated, and that makes them get interested in root work. And they like, oh,
Right.
I want to know, I want to do it. I want to be that powerful. And
Yeah.
for some people, they would have took that as a sense of power, right? And that would have filled their ego. But for you, that wasn't the case. There actually
Right.
was a healing journey that had to occur. Can you talk about that?
Oh, yes, the healing journey, because something like that happens, you feel a lot of emotion. And I'm
Right.
not gonna lie, the first of which was relief.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I can finally take a bubble bath.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can just breathe. Um, I do know, I think I did, I guess the day after that, I got rid of that jar because I was keeping it. I guess some people call them hell jars, some people call them sour jars, but either way, his ass was in a jar. I disposed of it, I think, at a creek. Took a okra bath, and then a spiritual bath afterwards. But the healing journey was a lot. I've been informed that things like this, and it has taken place, the FBI found a Black woman therapist on their dime, so that was kind of nice. But I was seeing her. I was doing PTSD homework. I've actually recommended it to other people too, like outside of this whole situation. But just working through that because PTSD, like with other traumatic situations, can affect your memory.
Yeah.
And like now, like almost 4 years later, wait, that was 2019.
That
But
was uh-huh.
yeah, so now all these years later, it's almost like full circle because I'm going to Afro Punk this weekend. And I'm definitely not going to have to worry about seeing him here or anywhere really. But
If we see a little hand hanging, we'll think of
you're
him. You know?
right.
No.
No, I think you took pay him dust a little too literally. But it's almost full circle because I'm going to Afropunk for the first time since the pandemic started. So I'm really excited. It's gonna be my first Brooklyn Afropunk.
Yeah, yeah.
But now like when I think about the story and the situation, like now it really does feel like, wait, that was me, you know? That happened to me. That's not somebody Poe told me about in a group chat, Like that was me. I was the main character in that situation.
You are the main character.
Once again, I cannot like stress this enough, but like it does show the power of the tongue. It has made I was already very cognizant of that before that situation. Now I'm like, you do jar work just before you pick up the cough medicine.
Mm-hmm.
The cough medicine is what you use to put something warm in somebody else's chest.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying about cough medicine.
Yeah.
But that comes before or with the cough medicine. Like this person is a proven danger to you.
Yeah.
This is not something you do every day. This is not something you do at every single slight, every little petty joke that you might have taken too seriously. This is like, it's in the name. It is work.
Right.
Because I can talk all my shit on here with y'all, but like this is ultimately something that I'm going to have to live with. Like the knowledge that I can do this if I want to. And, I like in the group chat, I do this all the time. I call myself the low vibrational queen.
Yeah.
Like I'm the one eating the pork neck bones and the cabbage greens in the corner at the family reunion. I eat the catfish. Like to me, nonviolent. What did Malcolm X say? Nonviolence works as long as it, no, nonviolence is great as long as it works.
Mm-hmm.
These are not things you want to do. This is not trouble you go looking for, because trouble will find you if you go looking for it.
Right.
This is something that you do. And I'm speaking specifically on hell jars or sour jars, whatever y'all call them.
Yeah.
Like this is not something that you do to brag about.
Right.
I don't know who said it, but I'm going to try to look it up. How did it go? Speaking on humans, not just men, but the men who don't brag have nothing to compensate for.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to go on live beating your chest like, oh, I could do this. My ancestors don't play about and it's true. Your ancestors don't play about you. It does not have to be announced all the time.
Exactly.
You don't have to jar somebody all the time. You ain't got to jar some celebrity because of something some tweet that they made. Like,
or even somebody in your comment section who said something you didn't like, or your coworker who you don't get along with, or your boss who made you mad. Like this is not something that you do just out of like revenge because you upset in the moment. Her life was really deeply in danger, as we see. He was on the way over there to Kaboom. You know what I'm saying? So this is something where it works, but you don't do it, as we talked about wellness community in the Zoom on Saturday. You don't do things just because you can. Right. You don't do it because you can. You do it if you have to. Right. And she had to in this situation.
Yes, I just want to emphasize that. And I know I'll be clapping back in my comments on TikTok at the trolls, but that's as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to like try to dox this person. I'm not going to go print out their picture and, find all this stuff out about them. Like
put them in a jar and all of that.
Put, everybody don't go in a jar.
Right.
Now I will
Right.
say I am big on sugar jars. Like if it's a house that you want, I'm put that in a sweetening jar.
Right, right. Something that's for prosperity, for manifestation,
Right.
for abundance, cool.
A
But when if
school
it's
you trying to
something that
get
you know
into,
might
a
hurt
school
or
you want
harm
the kids to get
somebody,
into, like
right,
put that in a sugar jar. Like a sugar
right.
jar I'm good for, but like hell jars and I guess not protection work, but reactionary work.
So somebody
But
asked a High Vibe asked a good question. High Vibe said, "Can you talk about the consequences of when you do root work out of spite?"
I can try.
Mhm.
I've actually never done root work out of spite. um, what?
As you're thinking, I'll just say, in my
Uh,
opinion, overall, I'm very big on, you know, think about energy, think about reciprocity, think about all of that, karma,
mhm,
all of that. What you put out is what will return unto you. The energy you put out is the energy that will come back to you. So
exactly.
just be mindful when you are doing these things. Consider that, if
Mhm,
you're doing something out of spite, that energy is going to return unto you, so that's why you don't play lightly with those types of things. You don't
Right.
play with that. It's going to come back to you. And this is with anything you do, good or bad. And
Right.
that's why I say with protection work, and for me, my favorite saying is, I say, may their karma be swift and abundant, whatever their karma may be.
Mm,
May their karma be swift and abundant. And what the reason I say that is because I'm not determining what your true intention is. Only you determine what your true intention is. But may that return to you abundantly and swiftly, whatever
mhm,
your true intention is. So that's what it is. It's ensuring that, whatever, when you do any work, whatever your intention is the intention that will come back to you.
mhm.
So that's the consequence of doing anything for any reason. Sugar
Um,
Bones, you wanted to add?
the question was of the consequences of doing work out of
Out of
spite.
spite.
So, I don't have a personal, um, I guess, antidote about that.
Hmm.
Um, so what I will say is one of the consequences of doing work out of spite or doing work because somebody told you something about somebody else you don't like, right? So you're doing spiteful work on somebody else's behalf on a situation that you don't even relate to, that
Which is,
doesn't even involve you.
yeah, yeah,
And it can, like you said, it can come back on you. It can come back in very interesting ways. It can come back in infertility. It can come back on, you just purchased this house in LA and now you back living in Beatrice, Louisiana with your parents because, you lost your job, you lost your house, you lost everything. And this is because you were trying to harm somebody that did no harm to you on somebody's behalf. Like you calling all these spirits to do all this negative stuff to somebody else. You don't know whose spirits that person has. You don't know anything about their protection, their reactionary work or their, reversals.
right.
But you did this just because you
Somebody
know,
paid you a few
right,
dollars.
some overhead told somebody paid you a few dollars, or even if we're being real, somebody paid you a little attention.
Hmm.
But there are definitely consequences for calling down spirit on somebody that is not at all involved with you. There are consequences to not feeling our emotion in the moment and letting those emotions pass, and letting logic come in, talking ourselves down, like, okay, they said that this way, but do I care about this person enough to
Right,
possibly destroy my own life?
right.
um but there are definitely consequences is what I was going to say. Like
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
wouldn't.
There's definitely consequences, and the thing about it is, somebody had I'm trying to see this.
Yeah,
Somebody
I'm
said,
like trying to read them.
I think it's Sade. I think that's how you say it, Sade or
Oh, she's so
Sadi.
cute.
She said, how did you know when you need to do that level of work because of a dangerous situation? And I think what you just said, and she already explained that, which is essentially it was a dangerous situation. Her life was in danger. So this is not something that, oh, you mad at your ex and you going to do it because you mad at your ex. This is
Right.
not something, or this is, and even,
And this is not for somebody that you keep backsliding towards.
and that's
too.
I was going to say that. Even the ex that you've been going back and forth with, and he trying to get back with you again, and you like, oh, I'm going to put you in the jar. It's
Right.
not something that you do that for, you know. And as Dee said, as Sugabone said, you know, what's important to keep in mind is that when you are doing this, of course, the consequences can be detrimental for them, but as well as for you, and also have effect on your loved ones. And I'll often see this where, you know, there are people who I know who are root workers who are what I call contract root workers. So you can hire them to do things on your behalf. And some of them do left hand work. And see, people think that that's cute and all of that. But honestly, and I would just be real, it's always something going on in their life. Either something happening with their mama, something going on in the house,
in everybody's lives. That's another thing to remember.
going on with them that you, and I'm just like, well, maybe you should stop pulling that hand out for any and everybody. You know,
Right.
the left hand stuff is just things that you just, that's a final last resort situation if your life is in threat and in danger. That's not something you just do just to do. You
and
know,
another, it's like that scene in What's Love Got to Do with It at the diner when she said, you only got to hit me once. Like, you, for me, only have to threaten me once. You like an actual threat on my existence on this planet, in this realm. You only got to do that once.
right.
And that, Sade, is how you know.
Right. Okay, we are going to close this because we are at 2 hours. Yes, it's an hour and 56. Okay, before we go, so can you shout out? Can you shout out how people can find you on social media, and also any final words you have for the people?
Yes. So I am Shugabones Sharve on all social platforms. I am on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and of course, I am on TikTok. If you want to book a consultation, the link is in my bio on all those sites. So you can book me on Calendly. I'm a king of clubs, so it's She's a King on Calendly. But
and I'll also, when the video is over, I'll put her information in the description of this video as well, so it can be easy contact, easy access. I'll put her TikTok as well as her booking link as well. Do you have any final words that you want to say to the people before you go?
I didn't think of any real final words. A memory that, like we mentioned earlier today, there are some consistent rules in Hoodoo, but nobody hoodoos like you do. You know, so there's Hoodoo and then there's you do. Ultimately, always go with spirit. It does not have to look a singular way. You know, you don't even have to have an altar if you don't want one, if you don't have the space, if you can't afford the space. Also, like, remember that you are the altar.
Absolutely.
Your ancestors live in you, literally. So as you elevate yourself, you're elevating them. So, you know, don't feel bad that you don't have this grand, fabulous, Pinterest worthy altar. You know, music works. Dance for them, sing for them, even if you're completely off key and tone deaf like I am. Dance, sing, you know, play spades, try to win if you do. Like, don't be out here embarrassing them. And all other ancestors win. But, you know, it doesn't have to have, you know, one particular look. Like, I'm a head wrap girly, as y'all can see. You don't have to be a head wrap girly. If you're a girl at all. You know, you don't, you know, if you like a different type of aesthetic, look like that. You manifested that weave, okay? Like, you manifested that bust down. Another thing I want to leave on is, of course, a quote from the great mother herself, Zora Neale Hurston, is, if you are silent about your pain, they will kill you and say you enjoy it. So
one of the most powerful.
One of my favorite quotes ever, 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 ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, yeah, God forbid, I do not want this for any of y'all. But like, if you do get in a situation where you're gonna have to use that left hand and that left foot,
Mm-hmm.
um, don't let anybody talk you out of protecting you and yours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't let anybody try to high vibration you out, out of making sure that you are good, that you, your kids, your spouse, that everybody, like, you are good on this realm.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it gets to a situation where one of y'all is not going to leave the room, make sure it's you, like, through any, like, by any means necessary.
Yeah,
But I think that
absolutely.
is it.
I love that. I love that. And
Thank you
family,
for
I
having
appreciate
me.
y'all for showing up. You welcome, Sugar Bones,
Yes.
and thank you for coming and thank you for sharing your story. The intention with having this discussion, of course, is I wanted folks to understand, of course, the power of the word and the power of oral tradition
Hmm.
and what you do as a griot, right?
Hmm.
As a storyteller, as someone who is keeping the tradition alive and keeping it going, because we need more of those. Maya Angelou was a griot. So many people, that we love are griots in their own way, whether you do music or whatever, and you tell
Right.
stories. If you tell a story, you are a griot. And I
Hmm.
think that what you do is so important. And I also really wanted folks to understand the work behind who you are and what you do. And the fact that, when it comes to being a root worker, you are that and you do that. And your power has been proven and shown, but you ain't got to flex it. But
Right.
it's a testament that this thing really works. What we do works. So
Mhm.
when you're telling these stories, it's power behind these stories. There's wisdom and there's lessons behind these stories that's being passed down. And for some folks, unless they hear the powerful stories, they really don't understand the depth that the power holds. They don't
Right.
understand how deep this really runs and how deep this goes. So I think that, of course, your experience has just been a true testament of somebody who, did the work and the work showed up and showed out and blew up, and this thing really, this story is beyond just like, a little, oh, girl, let me tell you about this crazy thing that happened. No, this is like a
Right.
people clutch your pearls, hold on to your seats. This is a movie. This is a show. This is a series. This is like, wow. But this is historical. This is
Yes.
historical evidence of the power of prayer, faith,
Mhm.
root work, a woman with intention. This is historical evidence that the work our ancestors put forth works. The
Yes.
work that they held on to works. And no matter how we share it, whether if it's through stories and being a griot, whether if it's through teaching on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, it's through writing books or whatever, it's important that we continue to pass down this information in the community, because you never know when you might need it, when your children might need it, when your
Mhm.
niece or nephew or cousin or auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, somebody may need this to protect themselves and to keep themselves well. So don't let these stories die. Don't let these traditions and these practices pass us by and become no more. Keep the power of the word going, keep the
Yes.
roots working, and be well. I love y'all,
Yes.
family, wellness community. I'll see y'all in the group chat. Sugar Bones, thank you for coming on and
Thank
joining.
you for
I
having
appreciate
me.
y'all always. And family, I will see y'all soon, okay?
All right.
Peace.
Peace.